Hello and welcome to part 2 of the 2018 Grant County Point-in-Time Count volunteer training. My name is Stephanie Bonwell and I will be conducting this training for you. Part 2 is a follow-up to the volunteer orientation training. If you are a new volunteer or are looking for a refresher on the point-in-time count, please be sure to watch part 1 of the training if you haven't already. In this video, we will be discussing specific information related to 2018's count. Here is the data from 2015 to 2017 point-in-time count. As you can see, in the past 3 years, the data for sheltered and unsheltered homeless households has decreased. Although the number of households have decreased, we did see a slight increase in the number of unsheltered children last year. Many things can affect data, like weather, how effective or lucky the surveyors are in finding homeless. Although it's not easy to deduce changes in the data, I can say that the weather was particularly nasty this time last year, while 2016's weather was relatively mild. Also, although the warming center was in operation last year, it was closed for restructuring on the day of the count. So as you can see, there are several factors that can affect overall data. This year, HUD has changed their definition of homelessness, which will likely impact our numbers for this year's count. As you probably already know, this year's count is on January 25th. All teams need to be at the Housing Authority of Grant County between 6:30 and 7 a.m. unless you have been told otherwise. The Housing Authority of Grant County is located at 1139 Larson Boulevard in Moses Lake. We are located in the Larson subdivision. You are welcome to park on the street in front of our office or in the parking lot behind the building. I will be there to check you in. You'll then receive your packet and Housing Authority staff will be available to help you load your vehicle. Remember, whoever is driving will need to clean out their vehicle in anticipation of lots of supplies. Once all of your team members are ready, feel free to head out. So let's talk about the packet your team will be receiving the morning of the count. In it, you will find plenty of blank surveys. You will also have a survey that is already filled out as an example for you. You will also have an emergency services brochure. Please feel free to give these brochures to anyone that is interested, and you can also leave them with local agencies as well. There will also be lanyards with the point-in-time count on them. These come in handy and can help with safety. Please wear them while you're out in the field and don't forget to return them to your packet once you are done. There will also be a map of your area, a list of key people to contact while in the field. This will be the same list you were emailed prior to the count. My contact phone number during the count in case you have issues or questions, and the envelope serves as an area to write notes. This envelope is used from year to year, so feel free to write anything that may be pertinent for next year's count. For example, was there someone helpful that should be contacted again next year? Or was there a community agency that was particularly helpful? Some teams also gather business cards from those who were helpful. These will be kept in the envelope from year to year. Let's talk about the survey form, which is the reason why we do the point-in-time count. For those volunteers who participated last year, you will see that the form looks a little different, but is asking very similar questions to previous years. It is still two-sided, and we'll look at the second side in a minute. In your packet, you will have a sample form already filled out, so you have something to reference when completing the survey. All of the information gathered on this form is used, so it's very important to get as much information as possible about the individual. So let's talk about the first box, the orange number 1 on your screen. There are 2 questions in this section. The location where the household was surveyed. This will already be filled out for you and will reference which area you were assigned to. The second question will be left blank, which is the current city or town. This is referring to what town you are in when you are speaking to the household, and it very well may be the same as the first question. Next, take a look at pink number 2, which are the questions related to where the person stayed last night. Please focus on those who are currently unsheltered, meaning that they stayed out of doors, in a vehicle, an abandoned building or RV, etc., last night. Many homeless go from sheltered to unsheltered quite regularly. They bounce back and forth, which is why we focus on those who were unsheltered the night before the count. Also, if you are speaking to third parties and receiving information regarding households in that way, only gather information if the third party knows that the person was unsheltered last night. For those who have volunteered before, you will see a change in this section. As I mentioned before, HUD has clarified or changed what it means to be unsheltered when residing in an RV. So please listen carefully to the following. For a household to be considered unsheltered while staying in an RV, the household needs to not have access to the following amenities: drinking water, restroom, heat, ability to cook hot food, or ability to bathe. This criteria will discount most households who have their RV in an RV park. The important thing to remember here is if they have access to the utilities. Even if an RV is not hooked up to water because of freezing temperatures, they still may be able to access a restroom on the property, as well as get drinking water. Also consider that the household can use bottled water or have water in their holding tanks. If the RV is not hooked up to electricity, they can qualify as unsheltered if it is not available on site and the RV does not have a working generator. Most RVs carry propane for cooking and heating. The important question to ask is if their propane system works. If it does, and they just do not have propane due to a lack of money or other reasons, you would not consider them to be homeless. But if the propane system does not work, they would be considered homeless or unsheltered. A classic example of this is a household living in an RV that is parked at a Walmart parking lot. They would be considered unsheltered if they do not have electricity or a working generator, or they don't have the ability to hook up to water to bathe, or the propane system or microwave does not work. There can be several other situations as well, so if you are unsure whether or not an RV is considered unsheltered, please make a note on the survey form to flag to discuss with me after the count. And finally, the last part of this section are those who are considered shelter. You will see these choices on the right hand of the box at number 2. For this count, we do not focus on those who are temporarily staying with family or friends. in a hospital, or in jail. These choices are on the form, but they are not considered to be homeless and are not reported. The next section, which is at the red number 3 on your screen, looks specifically at the household's length of time homeless. So, have they been homeless for a year or more? Did they have 4 or more episodes of homelessness in the past 3 years? And of those times, do they add up to 1 year or more? The last 2 questions can be really hard to answer for a lot of people, but this information is really important in order to document chronic homelessness. And note that if the person answers yes to being homeless to a year or more, or has had 4 or more episodes of homelessness, you can skip the final question of this section. The next box at the green number 4 looks at household information, their demographic information. First, mark what type of household it is. Is it a household without children? Is it a household with adults and children? Or is it a household with only children, meaning that they are an unaccompanied minor? Next, please fill out their last permanent city. So where did they last permanently live? This will tell us if homeless are traveling here from other areas. The next set of questions in the spreadsheet are related to the actual household members individually. If there are multiple adults in the household, choose one of the household members or one of the adults to be the head of the household and list their name on the line that says self. So you will list their name, date of birth or approximate age, gender, race, ethnicity, whether or not they are fleeing domestic violence, and if they are a veteran served in the military. You then check the box, any of the boxes, if a person has any of the disabilities listed: chronic substance abuse, physical disability, developmental disability, mental health issues, or chronic health condition. If the person has no disabilities, please leave the boxes blank. If there is more than one person in the household, list the other household members on the form. Remember to list the person's relationship to the head of the household. So are they the spouse, the child, etc. in the first column. All family members should be listed on the same form, including children. If there are multiple people staying together, but they are in separate families or households, please fill out a new survey for each household or family. After you gathered the demographic information about each household member, you then fill out the last section regarding circumstances that caused homelessness, which is at the pink number 5 on your screen. You can check multiple boxes in each of these sections. Typical answers are eviction, unable to work, criminal history, disability, fleeing from domestic violence. If the person does not know why they are homeless, please check the Don't Know box. That is all for the first side. When you receive your packet, please familiarize yourself with the form so you can easily interview the household when you see them. Now let's take a look at the second side of the form. The second side of the form has some big changes to it. Normally, all of the data collection is on the front of the form, and only the release of information is on the back. On this year's form, you will see at the green number 6, there are questions regarding household income and benefits. You can check multiple boxes as they relate to the household. Please note the refuse and don't know boxes. If the person you are interviewing refuses to answer the question, or if you are answering the questions via a third party and they don't know the answer to the question, please mark refused. The only time you should answer with don't know is if the person themselves do not know. If there are multiple people in the household, all of their income or benefits should be listed together. The rest of this form is regarding the release of information. All data collected on this form is entered into a homeless system database called HMIS. When the household signs the release, they are consenting for their identifying information to be entered into the system. Should the person refuse to sign the release, or if they are not present during the interview, please still gather as much information as possible, including their name. For forms that are not signed, identifying information will not be included in the HMIS database. No names or exact dates of birth will be used for any of the household members. You will see that the adult household members are to sign the release at the black number 7 on your screen. Finally, if the household shows their interest in receiving housing assistance, you can take a look at the pink number 8 on your screen. This is where the person can give their contact information, a phone number or email address, if they would like to be contacted by a housing provider. Housing Authority staff will attempt to contact all households who show a desire to be contacted. Initial contact will be made the following week after the point in time counts. If the household shows interest in receiving housing assistance but does not wish to give their personal information, remember that you have the emergency services brochure in your packet. You can give them this and note where the Housing Authority contact information is. This year, the packet will also include information on the warming center that will be open for the month of February. Please feel free to disperse as you see fit. For those people with no way of making contact with the Housing Authority, there is usually a community agency in the town that they are staying that they can access to contact us. Places like hospitals, food banks, and police departments are often willing to help. That brings us to the end of the survey form. And this is a lot of information, but remember that there will be a sample survey in your packet already filled out for you to reference. Once you feel you have exhausted local contacts and areas to look, please return to Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Church at 200 North Dale in Moses Lake. Most teams are done with the count and back to the church by 1 p.m. Stephanie will be at the church from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. If for some reason you arrive earlier or later than those times and have not made prior arrangements with me, please call me at the number listed on your packet. You may need to drop off your packet at a different location. Ideally, you will have surveyed enough people to use up all of your donations. But if you have hygiene packs, coats, or sleeping bags, or any other items left over, please try to leave them with an agency that regularly assists or sees clients in need. If there is no such agency in the area, you can always bring back the supplies when you return to Our Lady of Fatima. However, we really would like the supplies left in the community that you are surveying. When you reach the church, I will be there for you to turn in your packet and share any neat stories or experiences you had during the count. Please be sure to fill out the cover sheet on the packet with your team members' names and any notes you want to keep for next year. Project Homeless Connect will be happening from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., So if you arrive during that time, we would love for you to stay for lunch if you can. The church makes homemade soup and sandwiches and always has a great dessert option. It is also neat to see the community coming together for this time. After all teams are done and you have shared your experiences with your coworkers and families, the work of the Housing Authority staff begins. We enter all data into our statewide database. This takes about a month to complete. Once data is entered, the state then compiles it and submits it to HUD. I'm also able to access our local data, in which I always email a summary to all of the volunteers and then release a copy to local media. This typically will not happen until March. After watching these trainings, if you still have questions, please feel free to contact me. I would like to thank you in advance for volunteering for the point-in-time count. Without your help, we would not gain an accurate count, which is very important. I look forward to seeing you in the early morning of January 25th at the Housing Authority of Grant County. Once again, thank you very much for your time.